Hey again, second grade scientists. It's Miss Haverstick. I'm so happy you're back. Last time we were together, we started talking about species that have gone extinct. Remember how extinct means no longer in existence? An animal, a plant, a living thing that has gone extinct has disappeared forever. Now, last time we talked about how there are researchers out there, there are scientists called paleontologists who study dinosaur bones and learn about what they were like when they were living things. And we have archaeologists, those people who do a lot of digging to find bones of species that are no longer in existence, of species, living things that have gone extinct. So, living things grow and reproduce. They have life cycles and they need four basic needs: food, water, shelter, space, and air. And they have adaptations. But when a species can't adapt, when a living thing can no longer grow and reproduce, that's when it goes extinct. Today, I want us to do a little bit more research to learn about how living things go extinct. We know living things go extinct when they can no longer adapt to their environment. So, do you have your curious brain? I know I got mine. Make sure you get your curious brain too. We really need it today. I've been thinking, for a living thing to go extinct, it must mean that it was no longer able to get at least one of its four basic needs. If a living thing can't get water, if a living thing can't get the food it needs, if a living thing doesn't have safe shelter and space, or if a living thing doesn't have air, well then that would mean it couldn't adapt. It couldn't have a characteristic to help it stay alive in its environment. And so it would go extinct. So how does this even happen? Oh man, well that must mean that its habitat, the space that living things live in, it would get ruined. So they can't live there. Or it would mean that their food, they wouldn't have enough food. Maybe because of, oh, I learned about this thing when I did research. It's called competition. Sometimes there are species that are really similar. There are living things that are a lot alike. And when both of these types of living things eat the same food, there might not be enough for all of them to survive. And if one of these living things can't adapt, it goes extinct. That's called competition. So when they can't get enough food, or if they can't get enough water to stay alive and they can't adapt in time, they disappear forever and go extinct. So I was wondering, let's do some research together on what even causes extinction. What causes a species, a living thing, to disappear forever? Let's check it out. I found this really helpful website. I'm going to show it to you. We can study it together. This resource for research is from the American Museum of Natural History. Now, whenever we do research, it's always so good to make sure that where we're getting our information is really correct. We want to get our information from resources, websites, books, really important people who know what they're talking about. People whose job it is to study things like this so that we know we're getting correct information. The American Museum of Natural History, it is their job to know things about our natural world, our planet Earth, living things and things that have gone extinct. So this is a great website to use teamwork with to do research and learn about what causes extinction. So let's read about it. This website tells us the biggest threats to our planet's species are humans. Our world's population is increasing by millions each year. All these people are using more and more resources, leaving fewer resources for Earth's other species. So that's that term competition that I told you about. Humans, we use a lot of the same resources. We need water, food, shelter, space, and air to stay alive. And because there are so many people in the world, we're using up those resources, and it's really hard for other living things to get what they need to stay alive. Let's find out more on how humans are threatening species and what we can do to help protect these living things. It's always so good to use responsibility to help take care of ourselves and others. And part of taking care of our whole world is thinking about the other living things in it. So here are some of the things that are causing extinction, are causing living things to disappear forever, that maybe we can do something to stop. The first one is called over-harvesting. Over-harvesting. Humans use thousands of the world's species in their daily lives for food, shelter, and medicine. But these natural resources are limited. That means that there's only so many of them. People can take only so many fish from the sea or cut down so many acres of forests without permanently damaging the ecosystems and threatening species. For many species, this overharvesting may mean total extinction. So, overharvesting is when maybe people are taking more than they need. What we can do, we can make sure that when we buy our food, it's not coming from somewhere that is over harvesting them. We can also make sure we are recycling and saving wherever we can possible. So over harvesting means that, well, sometimes we need different living things to stay alive, but we don't need to take so much of that living thing that it can't grow and reproduce. We can help make sure some species don't go extinct by not overharvesting. Now, some species go extinct because of habitat loss. That means that their environment is ruined. They no longer have a safe shelter and space to live in. Sometimes people can contribute to this. When we cut down forests and build cities or make roads and destroy the habitats, these plants and animals aren't able to adapt in time, and some go extinct. So we want to do what we can to help keep planting more and more trees so that these habitats aren't gone and so that living things have shelter and space to stay alive. Sometimes living things go extinct. They disappear forever because another species comes in and they take all of the resources that that living thing needs to stay alive because of competition or because this new species hurts the other species. They go extinct. And so as people, we can make sure that we don't let our pets hunt wild animals. We can make sure that our pets don't go places they shouldn't go. And we can make sure that we're trying our best not to be the spreaders of invasive species. So we shouldn't take a species from one habitat and bring it to another because that might not be the right shelter and space, the right environment for that invasive species, and it could start taking over the habitat and making it impossible for other living things to stay alive. Another thing that causes extinction is pollution. And pollution is where chemicals and other really bad things for the environment are spread into the air and into our water. Sometimes when you see a lot of trash outside, that is pollution. And so we can do our best not to cause pollution by carpooling, riding our bikes instead of taking cars, and always making sure that our garbage goes in the right place. Sometimes our garbage and our pollution can cause species to go extinct. It can cause them to disappear forever. The last thing that causes extinction is climate change. This is where our environment is changing. The temperature is different, the weather is different, and these living things are having a hard time adapting, a hard time having those characteristics that help them to stay alive in their environment. By riding our bikes, using public transportation, and saving energy by turning off the lights when we're not using them, we can help stop, slow down climate change so that it doesn't hurt so many living things. Now, second grade scientists, that was a lot of information. We saw that there are a lot of reasons that living things can go extinct. There are a lot of reasons that cause living things to not be able to adapt fast enough or not stay alive in their environment. This happens a lot, and we as scientists can study it through research. We can use teamwork with other scientists who have studied this, like archaeologists and paleontologists and people at museums, to understand what living things in the past were like, to understand why some are going extinct now, and what we can do to make sure living things can still grow and reproduce, to make sure living things can still get their four basic needs: food, water, shelter, space, and air, and to make sure that living things go through their life cycles that repeat over and over and adapt so that they can stay alive. Wow, second grade scientists, I want you to head to Google Classroom and use those curious brains and what we learned today to think about what has caused this species to go extinct. We know there are a lot of different reasons, and so read the different stories about a living thing and then circle the answer that you think explains why that species has disappeared forever. Maybe it was because of competition, other animals taking those four basic needs that that living thing needs. Maybe it was because of pollution or climate change. It could be a lot of things, second grade scientists. Use those curious brains and think about what causes extinction. I can't wait to hang out with you again tomorrow and learn more about living things and things that are no longer living, things that have gone extinct. Have so much fun today, and I'll see you again tomorrow, second grade scientists.